Welcome into another episode of College Basketball Review Courtside. Again, Mat Mlodzinski here today with the head coach of UC Irvine, Russ Turner. Russ, thanks for joining the show today.
I appreciate you having me and UC Irvine on, Matt. Really appreciate it. And thanks for the good work you're doing.
Look, always love to give love to the mid majors, and of course, you've been at UC Irvine for some time now, winningest coach in UC Irvine history. By the way, does that ever get old? Do you ever get old hearing that?
Uh, I've been here a long time, and there's a lot of great stuff about that. We've got it good here at UC Irvine. A lot of people who haven't been here don't quite know how good this university is, this community is, and also maybe how consistent our program has been. So I appreciate you giving a little light to that. I'm grateful. I've had really outstanding assistant coaches and players, and there's a lot that goes into sustained success.
And that's the thing. I mean, you look at like the Loyola Chicagos of the world, everyone looks at teams that make the runs in March. But if you follow college basketball, you see Irvine always there, always getting 20 wins year in, year out. You've created some type of a program there. When you look back at when you originally took this job and when it all started, did you kind of see it forming into this where UC Irvine would be a consistent mid-major program?
Well, I hope that that might be possible. I can't say at all that that's what I expected would happen. We worked pretty hard to get ourselves established, and we got some good breaks, which is always part of it. I think the ability to sustain success nowadays, well, it's just hard anytime you do it. And so I've tried to study carefully, organizations in basketball and other sports that have been able to do that. I try to figure out ways to model some of the things I've learned in looking at those organizations and also to be creative. And right now, with the college basketball, college sports being disrupted the way it has, there's opportunity, I think, for us to continue to innovate. I'm hoping that's what we can do.
Well, that's a perfect segue because I had it planned out today, and that is the age of NIL. Of course, Russ, power conference teams taking over, right? I mean, it's the age where they want to throw the money. They want to get all the best players they can. Everyone knows that that's the state of college basketball. It's a little bit different for you, right? You see Irvine, a little bit more of a challenge as a mid-major program. What are some of those challenges, and how do you maybe get around some of those?
Well, I think anywhere in college basketball, you've got to figure out what fits your situation, your
Mhm.
university, your community. That's what we're trying to do. Right now, we've got four starters back from a team that won 24 games, and I'm grateful to those guys that have made the choice to come back here. I think that's reflective in some ways of the quality of their experience, but also am able to recognize that we've made some good moves here early to establish a collective, to be in position, not necessarily to compete dollar for dollar, but to compete the best way that we can to be good. And that's the story of mid-major basketball. That's what we're all trying to do, to punch above our weight, to maybe leave a mark with a special type of spirit or sets of performances. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to figure it out, and we don't have it figured out. We got to keep adapting, keep changing, keep adjusting, hopefully keep growing.
The hardest thing I probably look at in college basketball right now is the fact that you have to re-recruit your players year in and year out, and it's especially true at the mid-major level, right? You see countless guys, whether it be really any mid-major squad across the country that has a player, a generational player, and they get the opportunity to go to a power conference school and they take that. I mean, is that something that I'm sure you want success for your players, but is it tough trying to re-recruit the top guys when, they see greener pasture somewhere else?
I think you have to be disciplined in your outlook about that as a coach. And it's really helped me to have had 6 years experience in the NBA. Um, Many people think that the NBA is all about money, and I don't think it is. I think in the NBA, players are more focused on improvement and on the respect that comes with success. And so we're trying to focus when we can on those things. Now, there are times when the money is going to be too much for us to compete with or for us to suggest that a guy should stay, I think. But as long as we're doing a good job every day with our guys, we don't have to re-recruit them at the end. I think we just have to be honest with them the whole way. My staff and I, we want the best for our players and for our players' families. And if we're that way all the time, um, then I think things mostly take care of themselves if we're real and we're honest.
Yeah, pretty much the relationship with the players throughout. Obviously, coach, definitely like to hear that. I mean, there's countless teams out there where, I mean, you just see mass exoduses of players just leaving, and it's really the state of college basketball. But again, you've built some consistency with this program, coach. Tournament in 2015 and 2019. Uh, how were you able to get those done? Those years, obviously, I'm sure you still look at them, and they were some special years.
Yeah, and it feels a little bit like it's been a while since that time. We also had an outstanding team in 2020 that didn't get a
Mhm.
chance to compete in our tournament for the NCAAs, and we've been close in the last few years. Um, we broke through in 2015, and that was hard. I mean, there's pressure when you're in a school that hasn't ever been to the NCAA tournament. It's hard to describe the pressure that the players feel, that the coaches feel, that everybody feels just from that narrative. It's a difficult thing to contend with. Um, and hey, I vividly remember the game where that we won to get into that 2015 tournament because we were down big early and we had to respond. But we were sort of prepared for that based on some previous experiences. And credit to the players on that team, the belief that we had together, that they had in one another. That's how you do it. And then in 2019, we had a similar type of group who had a terrific year. And we broke through again by winning in the NCAA tournament. And that was something that we had openly said that we thought we could do. And then we went out and did it. And when you have those types of successes and you can put them in the bank and draw from them, that's a good place to be in as a program.
And of course, it hasn't always just been the NCAA tournament. You guys were in the NIT last year. Always just a leader in your conference. Uh, do you ever feel like there's a target on your back when it gets to conference play?
Oh, yeah, we know there is. And when you're in that situation, I think you have to embrace it. And I've been fortunate. When I was at Wake Forest, we had great teams then and a target on our back. When I was at Stanford, same thing. Um, the NBA experience that I had was a little bit different, but there were teams then that had to get every team's best effort on a given night. And when you're in that situation, you kind of know it. We've been that way in our conference games. Teams want badly to beat us. That makes the games more competitive. And the competitive moments are when our players, I think, are most expectant that they thrive. And that's fun.
Well, this year probably not going to be any much different, right? I mean, again, you mentioned it. Four starters returned to this UC Irvine team. We had you in our top 100, projected top finisher in the conference. All that is fun and games in the preseason, though. What's this team look like in practice? How do you think you guys are coming along? I mean, we're only about a little bit over a month away from the season starting.
Yeah, we appreciate the recognition in the preseason, but we've also been in a spot where teams got that ahead of us. And so with respect to what you're doing, I don't think it matters that much. Maybe some of the fans like it. Our team right now looks solid, as I would expect that we would, especially on the defensive end. We had an outstanding defensive team last year. We've got a bunch of really talented, um, committed plus level defenders, and we're athletic and we're deep. And so I think we're going to be very good defensively. I think we've got to but we've got to figure out the new style that we're going to have offensively, slightly new without our departing point guard Pierre Crockrell, who had the ball in his hands a lot. What I see in this group is that offensively we're talented. I think we're going to shoot a lot more threes with Pierre, graduated and on his professional path now than we've previously shot. I'm hoping that we can be a better offensive rebounding team. Along with that, I do think that we're going to continue to have a team that shares the ball and that passes it well because I've got talent um, throughout our team in terms of passing and unselfishness. So I'm excited about what's possible for this group.
I'm glad you brought up the 3-point shooting there because I had this written down, and this is from College Basketball Reference, so that's where the stat came from. But 13th most 2-pointer attempts per game of any team in 2023-24. So you guys went inside a lot. Is that by design? Because I looked at the numbers too, and while you didn't take a lot of threes last year, you're hitting them at a good rate. So, it's good
Yeah.
offense either way. But, I mean, is taking a lot of twos by design?
I mean, yes and no. We know the math. 3-point shots are valuable, especially if you get good ones. And so that's the way I like to try to build our team, is around getting good shots. And last year when we played Pierre, he didn't shoot threes. And so we had a guard out there all the time who didn't shoot threes, which means it's not uncommon for our 2-point percentages to be different than other teams, especially the way they were playing him. So we focused on getting good shots. I think we did that a lot. I think we played fast, which meant there were opportunities at the rim and to rebound, and we played a deep roster. So all that sort of fit together. We've got to figure out how to fit this year's group together well so that we can play efficiently and effectively on both offense and defense. That's going to be different, I think, for most mid-major teams in given years. That's what we're looking forward to this year, is being a little bit different than we've been in the past and hopefully finding ways to be better.
And you mentioned it there, Pierre, not his game. I think from the outside, especially when you're looking at the national landscape, it's easy to fall in love with stats, right? I mean, we cover over 300 teams. We can watch all the videos, watch all the games we want, but sometimes the stats can help tell the story. You're coaching there. It's your story day in and day out. So do you look at analytics? Is that a part of your philosophy, or is it more of just, this is the feel of the team and this is how we're going to let it run?
Oh no, I'm probably as heavily analytically driven as any coach. Um, but I don't think that has to mean the same thing for every team. We focus more on the defensive side of the ball because that's where we think we've recruited maybe above our station a little bit. And so when you do that, it has impact on the way that you can play offensively. And the other side of that coin is also true. If you recruit all shooters and, you're an offensive oriented team that's analytically based and you shoot a ton of threes, it's probably going to impact the way you defend. Um, we follow the statistical stuff very closely. I had a good education on that when I was in the NBA, even though we do it different. And I think there's always going to be different identities, always in every sport, no matter what the analytics are. We're just trying to figure out how to win. And if we can win and get to the NCAA tournament, that's our goal. Our goal actually is not just to get there; it's to advance. And so we're thinking every day with our scheduling, with our style of play, with the things we emphasize, how we can best maximize the opportunity for us to do that stuff.
Again, UC Irvine head coach Russ Turner here with us on College Basketball Review Courtside. Our time is coming to a close, but you've mentioned your experience in the NBA at other schools in college. I want to know, is there a coach that you had in the past that you think has kind of helped you along in your career more than anyone?
Well, they all have. That's the story I'm lucky to tell. I've worked for 4 Hall of Fame coaches. The most recent was Don Nelson, who when I left the NBA, was the winningest coach in the NBA, the most creative basketball person I've ever been around. Prior to that, I worked for Mike Montgomery, Hall of Famer at Stanford, um, maybe one of the best coaches in the history of Cal. In addition, he was an incredible influence on my life. I can't express how grateful I am to him for the break that he gave me when I was 30 years old and bringing me onto the staff at Stanford. Before that, I worked for Dave Odom, the 2-time ACC Coach of the Year, the 2-time SEC Coach of the Year. Um, I coached his son. That's one of the reasons he hired me. I was with him for 6 years. I stay connected with him regularly, and he's had a huge influence on me. And then my college coach played for Dean Smith at North Carolina. His name is Tony Shaver. He's the best coach in the history of William and Mary, and a Hall of Famer Division III coach. So I've just had a range of experiences that I'm grateful to have had, that I'm fortunate to have had, that hopefully all influence me differently. I try to pass as much of that along to the assistant coaches I've got and the players that I've got as got passed on to me. And that's the great part of getting to do what I get to do. I got a great gig.
Of course, Coach, now you're doing the same at UC Irvine. Again, a team that, winning is there at UC Irvine year in and year out. That's kind of the mantra of you guys. Before I let you go, though, I'm sure UC Irvine fans are getting excited. The season's coming closer. Do you have a message? Is there something that you'd like them to know as the college basketball season is quickly approaching?
We're going to be our best in March.
That's a good thing to close on. Coach, I appreciate your time today.
Okay, I appreciate you, Matt. Thanks for the work you're doing and for having me and UC Irvine on your show.
All right, for everyone listening at home and watching, just make sure to subscribe, make sure to like this, and let us know who you want to hear next. Have a good one.